We are here in SoFi Stadium as the Raiders are on the road to take on the division rival, LA Chargers and Justin Herbert. But before we get into that, we have a game against the Kansas City Chiefs in which we unfortunately did take a loss to drop to 5-4 on the season. Patrick Mahomes did usual Mahomes things, throwing 3 touchdowns. And as we still try to chase the Chiefs, who reign atop not just the division, but atop the AFC as a whole, we are taking on the Chargers, who are 4-4, already having their bye week. And unfortunately, we did also sustain an injury. John Runyon will be missing this week, but it is just this week. We're still without Josh Jacobs, so the run game has suffered a bit in his absence. But overall, we are 5-4, just past the midway point of the season, and we're looking good for the playoffs. The division a little bit far out of reach with the Chiefs up top. But the Chargers are also trying to chase, as this is a massive matchup for the potential wildcard picture. The winner of this game is in control, as the Chargers would jump to 5-4 and we'd fall to 5-5. If we win, we go to 6-4, and the Chargers be a little bit behind us. So this is a must-win game for our Raiders. We want to take that next step to the playoffs. It is Raiders, Chargers up next. And you see Justin Herbert taking the field first, as the Raiders will start on defense, as they do just about every single week. Justin Herbert on the season has been great as usual. 16 touchdowns, 4 picks, as the Chargers have hovered around that 500 mark year after year. Try to take that leap to being a contending team in the AFC, but Herbert will hand off to Austin Eckler to start the game on back-to-back plays. It's 3rd and 8 early on, and Herbert and the offense, will they go 3 and out? Yes, he will! It's a sack for Osa Odigizua, and what a signing he's been, as Deshaun and the Raiders will take the field very early in this game. And Deshaun on the year has had a big step up. You see his numbers, very comparable to Justin Herbert. 16 touchdowns, 4 picks, as he has not turned the ball over a whole lot this year. We love the step forward he's taking in his development, as he threw 17 interceptions last year, 4 so far this year, as Deshaun will throw, and his first pass of the game is caught by DeAndre Hopkins, who's finally fully healthy and ready to make an impact in this offense. As Deshaun now, he's going to run the football, cuts it outside, and Thomas Deshaun past the 30, and Deshaun spun out of bounds at the 22-yard line. And Deshaun having to step up and be the #1 guy in the ground game for us. As Deshaun, he's going to run it again, and Thomas Deshaun headed for the end zone, and he's tackled down at the 1. Deshaun throwing, fade route. DeAndre Hopkins tried to give him a go ball up top, and now we're going to run it in. Thomas Deshaun, touchdown. And Josh Jacobs may be gone, but we still have a dangerous threat in the run game. A perfect start for our Raiders as we take the field on defense. Quick throw, incomplete, intended for Josh Palmer. As 2nd down and 10, screen set up, Austin Eckler, and he's just going to dirt the ball. 3rd down, as Herbert now threatening to go 3 and out again. This time, though, he converts on 3rd down, and it's a catch for the 1st down. And to the 45, the Chargers offense moves their first down of the game. Herbert, clean pocket, will throw underneath, and that's Quentin Johnson. And Quentin Johnson, former 1st-round pick, gets 15 yards. And now it's a sack on 1st down. Stanley Camper with a blitz up the middle, and Camper's put together an incredible rookie season so far. Eckler with the catch gets pushed out of bounds by Devin Bush. But now on 3rd down, they go to draw play. They just tried to get into field goal range, and they couldn't do it. It's going to be a punt. And the Raiders take over. Quick throw, and it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins, and we are targeting him early and often. That's his 3rd target of the game. And now we hand it off to Alex Venable, and Venable gets 3 yards. Peralta now in the backfield, as it's been a pretty split backfield since Jacobs has gone down. 3rd and 7 now, as Deshaun with a miss on 2nd down. He will throw outside, and miscommunication with Hopkins, and it's going to be a punt for the Raiders, as Eckler takes the football on 1st down, tries to cut it outside, and Devin Bush got in there. Herbert now dropping to throw, and it's a quick pass, and it's going to be caught for only 2 yards. 3rd down and 9. Herbert backing up, rolling right, and Herbert on the move. Can't find anyone open. He just has to throw it away. Great coverage on the back end, as now we start with a screen out to Kalen Shanny for 2 yards. And on 2nd and 8, we go read option once again, and Deshaun's going to cut this one up the middle. Now back outside, and he's going to get the 1st down and a gain of 10 yards. Very prolific start on the ground for Deshaun as we hand it off to Peralta, and Peralta will go ahead and pick himself up 4 yards. Deshaun now dropping back, staying in the pocket, and fires it to Hopkins, who cannot make the catch. And that is his 5th target of the first quarter. Deshaun will go to him again, and it's almost caught. It just threaded the needle there, but he couldn't hang on. And that's going to be the Chargers backed up. They get a 9-yarder to start, and then they throw, and it's kind of bobbled around an incomplete 3rd and 1. Raiders might have caught a break, and they did not quite, as they get the first down on the Austin Eckler carry. Herbert now rolling, cutting up, and Herbert's going to scramble, and he's going to get himself 7. Now under center, Herbert to throw once more. He's going to roll once more. He's going to throw it across the field, and Gerald Everett has it. And that's a great throw by Herbert. Not many quarterbacks can make throws like that. Staying in the air as Herbert will go to Quentin Johnson, and to midfield he goes. First down again. They are sticking in that under center formation, and they go to Eckler, who had a hole if he could have burst through it, but he instead just gets 3 yards. They throw outside, and Quentin Johnson with his 3rd catch of the game. And Johnson's really stepped up as they lost both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen to free agency last year. So it's been a rough time for the receiving corps to really develop, but Quentin Johnson is stepping up, and it's going to be a sack. Stanley Camper, 2nd of the game, and it's 3rd down. Herbert gonna run it, and Herbert's got a lot of room, and Justin Herbert inside the 50, down to the 12, and now Herbert making an adjustment at the line. They're close to score, and Herbert's gonna throw outside. It's tipped around, it's picked off. J.C. Horn jumped in front of it and got the interception. They tried to go quick to Johnson, and J.C. Horn gets his interception. What a signing he's been for the Raiders, and they turn him over, and now it's gonna be Deshaun with a little read option, and it's going to be a tackle for loss. 12 to go on 2nd down. Deshaun rolling, throwing, and that's going to be a contested ball for Venable. Incomplete, 3rd and 12. Deshaun firing one outside, and Sharu can't hang on. The turnover doesn't net us anything, but it does stop the Chargers and their momentum as Herbert will throw a contested ball, and that's going to be Jimmy Ward in coverage. And Jimmy Ward seeing more playing time in the second half of the season, as he has been really nice whenever he's played. You don't hear his name called much, but he doesn't make any mistakes, as now Stanley Camper blows up the run play, and Stanley Camper's having an incredible first half. 2 sacks, and that tackle for loss as throwing outside Deshaun. Incomplete, injury on the field. 2nd and 10. Deshaun will stay in the pocket and almost throw a pick. Derwin James got his hands on that one. 3rd down and 10. Deshaun now playing with fire as he's going to try it again. And Venable laid out for that ball, but it's incomplete. And Deshaun getting a little antsy here. And speaking of antsy, Herbert almost got antsy and throw a pick to Horn again. This time they go left side to Everett, who gets so close to the first down. 3rd and just an inch, really, as Eckler will convert. He'll get a whole lot more than that. 10 yards for Eckler as time is ticking away in this first half. They throw quick, and it's going to be just a 4-yard gain as they are trying to run some clock, trying to make sure this is the final drive of the first half as Eckler gets it to the 22-yard line. 2-minute warning approaching. Hands it off to Eckler once again, and this time it's blown up by Max Crosby. 2 yards. 2-minute warning hits, and he's going to throw outside. Caught. That's a nice throwing catch. 1st and goal. 1.5 minutes to play. Herbert, super clean pocket, but no one was open. And great coverage on the back end. 2nd and goal, Herbert outside, caught. Everett taken down. That's Jeremy Chin stopping the touchdown. 3rd and goal, and it's going to be a touchdown this time. Eckler gets in. Crosby couldn't stop it. And the Raiders now, 7-7, they take over with little time to go. They go Hopkins' way again. It's incomplete. The timing's been off between these two as Deshaun will try to run the football. Nowhere to go there. 3rd and 9. Will play action, and Deshaun tries to take it over the middle. He had a man underneath wide open. The running back leaking out left side had a lot of room to run. Fortunately, he missed it. Tried to go for a bigger, more riskier shot. Instead, we will go right to halftime. The passing game's been pretty rough for our Raiders as there's been a lot of targets to DeAndre Hopkins. About 7 targets and just only a handful of catches. And on the Charger side of things, they've moved the ball pretty well, but I think the Raiders have held up in key situations well. They got the touchdown to end the half. But I think the Raiders, I think we're playing the better game right now. We just have to really capitalize and make some plays in the pass game. As we had a turnover, we couldn't do anything with it. We had some key stops, 3rd down, 3 and outs. You know, we're doing our thing on defense. We just have to capitalize on offense. We'll see if we can do that in the second half. Raiders with the ball to start the second half as we hand it off to Alex Peralta. And Peralta, the 2 running backs as a whole, have not gotten many carries in that first half. We didn't really need them in the ground game as they throw underneath them. We got Sharu. We really got to get the passing game going. And maybe it involves less targets to DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe we're forcing him the ball a little too much. But this time, it's not forcing the ball to him. If he's wide open, we have a great throwing catch. Now option, flip it out to Peralta, and there goes Alex Peralta trying to show his limited speed, but he gets his first down into the 35-yard line. We throw underneath, Sharu with the catch. 4 yards for him as Deshaun will stand in the shotgun read option, using his speed, get into the outside, and Thomas Deshaun getting moving again, and Deshaun to the 17-yard line. Another big run for him as now Deshaun will look, end zone, great ball thrown, but it couldn't be hung on by Michael Mayer. Now Deshaun rolling right, hit as he's thrown, the ball gets floated up in the air, and it's picked off. Asante Samuel Jr. That ball got hung up there because of the hit, and it's going to lead to a turnover. Deshaun's just his 5th interception of the season as Herbert and the offense now has an opportunity to take the lead, but that's not going to happen if Stanley Camper keeps playing the way he's playing. What a game he's had. Another tackle for loss, and Herbert, now he gets sacked, and that's going to be Tyree Wilson. We get the ball back in great field position. The interception doesn't do much, but the sack's going to do a lot to this drive, and it's going to be 2nd and 22. Deshaun going to Shanny, and we get a lot of those yards back, and now it's going to be 3rd and 7. Deshaun incomplete, just short hop that football. A really poor throw. Eckler now is going to cut inside, and it's going to be 2nd and 2. And now Herbert run outside Eckler, juking, and Austin Eckler, there he goes. He makes one cut, and Odighizu is the only one close, but he's not going to catch him. Austin Eckler, touchdown Chargers. And Eckler finally broke it free. His defense has been playing aggressive. It's worked to our advantage, but there it comes back to hurt us. And now we are down 14-7. And with 4 to go in the 3rd quarter, we need something to go our way as Deshaun will throw underneath. They got Shanny. Out of bounds he goes. And Deshaun's got to play better. He's got to do something for us. We have a lot on the line with this game. 6-4 and a shot at the playoffs is really on the line here as Deshaun will throw down the field. He's got it, Shanny. And that's a big catch. First down. Peralta stiff arm. And all it does is prolong the inevitable and no gain. And Derwin James gets in there for the tackle. Throwing a screen out on 2nd down. Shanny cuts it inside. Back outside. And Kalen Shanny to the 20-yard line. Red zone now as Peralta takes the carry. Will go inside and powers ahead for a gain of 4 yards now. At the 16-yard line. Deshaun, a lot of time. Throws it. Caught Sharu. And it's going to be a touchdown. Raiders. Jaden Sharu. And that's another touchdown for him on the season as he just racks up touchdowns week after week. And it's going to be a tie game. Extra point was good. 14-14. And we finally got some momentum back on our side as Eckler now trying to build off that big carry that he had. 170-yard run makes this game look not so bad, but in reality it's been a lot of that. A lot of tackles at the line of scrimmage and for a loss. 3rd and 4. Herbert outside caught. First down. And we had an opportunity to get off the field there. We couldn't do it. And now Herbert will get pressured. And Max Crosby in his face forces a bad throw. 2nd down and 10. False start for the Chargers. And they will be backed up to 2nd and 15. A real drive killer potentially as the 3rd quarter is winding down. They throw a quick bubble outside. Caught. But not a whole lot there. 3rd and 12 now. Still behind the line of scrimmage from the original spot. Now they go screen. Eckler got a lot of room. Eckler trying to make a move. He ran a little ahead of his blockers. And the patience of Austin Eckler cost him a potential first down. There goes Alex Venable with a big carry, and Venable, who hasn't touched the ball much, makes the most of his opportunity. Play action, Peralta picks up the block, and now we throw it up top to DeAndre Hopkins, and it's caught! DeAndre Hopkins makes the big play to the 7-yard line. DeShong out to Hopkins again. Incomplete. Second and goal now. We hand off Peralta. Nowhere to go at the 6-yard line. Third and goal. What do we got here? DeShong throwing, and he's going to roll. He's going to cut up, making a guy miss, and Thomas DeShong, touchdown Raiders! Thomas DeShong, just too quick and too agile, gets the touchdown, his second rushing of the day, and Herbert now with a read option. Thomas DeShong ain't the only quarterback in this game who can run, as Herbert gets a big run to start his drive, and now they hand to Eckler. Eckler going right side, juking a man out of his shoes, and he gets the first down. And out the 34-yard line, Chargers trying to have a quick drive to go and tie this game with under 8 to go now. Herbert throwing outside, caught, first down. Red zone now for the Chargers as they throw once again, but the free rusher comes in, and it's going to be a sack. 2nd and 17. Defense coming up big as we have an underneath pass. Once again, they are behind the sticks. 3rd and 11. They're going to go to handoff to Eckler, and that's a surprising call. Content with taking the field goal. I don't know about that one. You have Justin Herbert put the ball in his hands. Obviously, we won't complain as Kalen Shanny set us up at the 37-yard line, so a good starting field position for us as we're throwing one up top, and ball placement not that good from DeShong, and it cost us a potential big play. Play action now is DeShong's going to run, gets through, and Thomas DeShong turns that play into a 9-yard run. And now 3rd and 1, we're handing it off. Peralta, just enough for the first down as they go with a little bubble screen outside. Kalen Shanny makes a man miss, and Shanny gets 7 yards. 2nd and 3, DeShong to the air. And he's going to get hit as he's thrown, and we had an open man downfield. He's seen him a little too late, and instead it's going to be 3rd down. DeShong rolling, and he's thrown a dangerous ball, and it's incomplete. We're going to go for it on 4th down. Massive call, and we got it to Tate. And with under 3 to go, we're going to continue draining this clock. Peralta will take us to the 2-minute warning. Time is running out for the Chargers. Handoff again. Peralta gets us to 3rd and inches. Timeout used. 3rd and inches. Game on the line. Throwing outside, and it's caught by Justin Perez. Final timeout burned, but it's not going to matter. And it's going to be a Raiders victory. We took that football back. We drained the clock, and Justin Herbert didn't get a chance. And the Raiders moved to 6-4 on the season, and a massive win. It was not a pretty one. The passing game was definitely a struggle throughout much of the first half, a little bit of the second half. We had some plays go our way. We had some unfortunate things go against us with that interception. DeShong overall under 50% completion percentage. Obviously, we don't like to see that. But whatever it was, the plays that needed to be made were made. DeShong made up for it on the ground. 90 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Kalen Shanny always sneaks in there with a big game. And DeAndre Hopkins, we tried getting him the ball. He delivered on some plays. Stanley Camper, massive game. 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. And as we move ahead, we have our draft update coming up next. This is your college football update, and once again we are here to say number 1 goes down. Not too long ago, a few weeks back, we had USC go down, and this week the number 1 team, Texas, takes their first loss of the season. It was Oklahoma State going on the road and stunning Texas. And we will get into a reason why a bit later, as we have some Heisman hopefuls to be talking about this season. But that's not all that happened, as we had Georgia also taking a loss this past week. They go down to Auburn. Auburn unranked. It's a really bad loss for them. At least the Oklahoma State loss, the respectable one, as Oklahoma State jumped all the way up to number 8. But Auburn was not a particularly crazy team this year, but they just came in and stunned Georgia. Elsewhere, though, in weeks 10 and 11, it seems like we have a Tuscaloosa curse hanging over Alabama, as once again they fall to LSU. every single year. It seems like this is, I think, 4 or 5 in a row. Alabama just can't seem to shake LSU. They take their first loss of the season. I know at 8-1, you think, wow, Alabama all the way down at 14. Alabama's not looked all that impressive this season. 8-1, yes, but you know Alabama rolls. They schedule a lot of cupcake non-conference teams. They haven't particularly looked impressive in the conference, and LSU comes in, takes them down on their home turf. And once again, though, it's just rough for the Alabama fans and players that just keep losing to LSU over and over again. And the final situation we have to talk about as we head to the Big Ten. Northern Illinois took on Ohio State in what has become a pretty big rivalry. And yes, Northern Illinois did hand Ohio State their first loss. And yes, you were seeing that correctly. Ohio State still managed to jump up in the polls. That's, well, because Texas and Georgia lost. And Georgia's loss was pretty bad. Texas's loss was respectable. But of all the teams, Northern Illinois is kind of thought to be the best team of them, Auburn, obviously, and Oklahoma State. So if there was ever a week for a top team to lose, it was this week, and Ohio State put up a great fight. It was another very close game as these two teams have become really massively at each other's throats, seemingly, in this Big Ten Conference. It was a 27-24 victory for Northern Illinois. Ohio State did look pretty good in the game, obviously. Northern Illinois gets a big benefit. They jump up all the way up to number 6. And Ohio State, though, first loss of the season, jumping up. So, not something you see very often, but it's what happens when teams 1, 2, 3, they all just lose. So, we get to weeks 12 and 13. Closing in on the ending portion of the college football season, we look ahead and see that USC is getting to play Stanford. That's going to be a top 10 showdown. We also have Baylor, TCU, Florida, Alabama. We have a lot of Big Ten action. A lot of things to close this season. And the college football polls, it's about as wide open as it's been, as there's no clear-cut, far and away best team in the nation as Michigan. They're just at the top by default. They're 9-0. They're a nice team, obviously, but they're not running away with it. And obviously, we'll see what happens when Ohio State and Michigan face off at the end of the season, as it's looking like another big-time matchup between those two schools, as they are, at the peak of their power, seemingly. But let's move on to some of these players. We start off with one of the Heisman candidates. He is on the lower end of the Heisman candidacy, but it is Dwayne Wooten out of Florida State. Florida State's got some really high-end players coming out in this class. We already talked about Rashad Bookout not too long ago. Now let's talk about their top offensive playmaker, as Wooten is another receiver in this class who is just a physical freak of a player. We already talked about Delbert Conroy from Oregon, the spectacular catch machine he is, and the George Pickens clone he seems to be. Wooten, not to be outdone, incredible body control, can come down with just about anything. You throw that football up there, he is going to somehow just handle that ball. If it's bobbled around, the defender's punching at it, ripping at it, he just is able to control it, and no matter what, he just brings it down. It's a great vertical threat, very just much, you put the ball, you high point it up there, he's going to go up and snag it. Doesn't make the flashy catches as much as Delbert Conroy. You look at his highlight reel, it's maybe not as flashy and out of control as Conroy. He's not making the one-handed catches or anything. He's just making the very solid, great plays. Obviously, a player like that's going to be pretty good in the red zone, but, players of his archetype suffer from a lot of stigmas coming out of college, such as their lack of separation, doesn't have crazy speed, he's probably going to run the 4.5s, and I think a maybe more concerning thing, if you want to get away from some of the typical, big receivers don't get separation, if you want to get to a concern I think he has, more notably, is his lack of burst off the line. He doesn't have bad release, but he just has a slow get off, He just a little slow for your liking, and when you're trying to, beat the press, or he physically, he gets by a corner. Not many corners are going to physically beat him, but corners will get the jump on him, and that slows the timing of routes down, that slows everything down. Even just that split second, that can disrupt a lot of plays. He's got to get quicker, he's got to get a little faster with his reaction and his burst. I think that's his biggest concern, and other than that, Probably a number 2 receiver. I just think that, unless you're a special player of that archetype, it's hard to be a certified number 1 because he's not taking the top off of defenses. He's not a go-to guy who's going to get 100 catches. He's not that kind of player. He's going to be a guy who can come in, get you 50 to 70 catches, can get you a good amount of touchdowns. I see him going late round 1. I don't think he's as good as Delbert Conroy, but we'll see where he goes. I think he's going to have a chance to make a good impact in the league if he can go to a place that can really utilize him, and he's got to get his burst up. He's got to get his quickness off the line going. It's shaping up to be a pretty good offensive line class, as we've already talked about Blaine Hastings, we talked about Rashad Bookout, and I know maybe not the most glorious position of the offensive line, but Ray Capps is another player worth talking about, another guy who's probably going to go in the middle to upper half of the first round, and he helped lead Auburn to that victory over Georgia. About as dominant as it gets in the run game, as Auburn was able to run for over 200 yards on that Georgia defense. Not something that happens very often, but if I have a comparison for him, I think this is a pretty good one. If you remember, back in the 2000s, Big Sean Andrews, the former All-Pro guard for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they have a lot of similarities, both good and bad. I think when we get into the good, you look at him, he's 6'6", 324 pounds, and he is an absolute people pusher. He just manhandles some smaller guys, and even guys his size. I mean, he is strong. He's arguably going to have among the most bench reps in the combine this year. He's the strongest guy at Auburn. He's one of the strongest guys in the nation. He moves people. He puts them on their back. And it's really fun to watch for an offensive lineman. And he, even at his massive size, he's obviously not fast, he's not super agile, but he can move, and you can even kick him out the tackle if you want to. He has some versatility to him. Obviously, nowadays, you'd like your tackles to be a bit more athletic and be able to keep up with the edge rushers who can fly off and have great bend. He may not be the best fit at tackle, which is why we have him in here at guard, but he could play tackle if he absolutely needed to. Now, the negatives, though. He is a little raw in the sense that he's not technically sound. He relies a bit much on his size and power to just overpower and dominate people. I think if he can get him more technically refined, he can be a lot more skillful as an offensive lineman, but he's got all the raw power and athleticism you'd want in a player with him. There's not many guys coming in at his size, his strength, his ability. So you're going to take that raw ability that he has, and if you can mold it, he's going to be pretty good. But I think the more pressing matter is his back issues. He has some back injury history, and as we go back to the comparison to Sean Andrews was a player, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, had some back issues, missed the whole season due to back injuries, and it really seemed to hurt him and hurt his career. Ray Capps is a player who, I don't want to say will go down the same road, but he's got some injury scares. He missed his sophomore season due to a back injury, and when he's on the field, he's incredible. When he's not, he has some scares with his back injuries, and back injuries are really hard to, it's not like a torn ACL, you have a surgery, you're back. Back injuries are a lot more permanent. So you're going to hope he doesn't have a significant injury. You're going to hope nothing goes wrong, but it's something to keep an eye on. So if we're taking injuries out, Ray Capps has all the makings of a top 10 pick. Injuries included, knocks them down a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he slides to the 20s due to his injury issues. And for our final player, how about we get to the quarterback position, the top quarterback in the class this upcoming year, the most exciting quarterback, as we already talked about Joakim Bradley, but less of an exciting player. Ramsey White is an exciting player, and he has really carried this Oklahoma State team into national spotlight as they are the number 8 ranked team coming off that victory over number 1 Texas. And I think this is about as good of a comparison as you can get for him. It's Russell Wilson. And I know some of you more recently think of Denver Broncos Russell Wilson, and the first year in Denver, not that great. Second year in Denver, a bit better, but think more Seattle Russell Wilson, I'd say. His player's super efficient, but he can make dynamic plays. I think there's, a fine line between quarterbacks who are considered game managers and these dynamic playmakers, these special quarterbacks. I don't think he has special arm talent like Russell Wilson. He does possess a good deep ball, but his arm talent you wouldn't describe as special. He doesn't have a rocket. He doesn't have a cannon. He's got good accuracy, good deep ball, but not special. But he's not a game manager, but he can manage the game. Manages the game very well, doesn't turn the ball over very much. He can make those dynamic plays, though, and he likes to work out of structure. Remember Russell Wilson in his prime days running around, spinning around, making defenders look silly, running this way, back over this way, and then throwing a football to like Doug Baldwin or something, and it makes a crazy play. I remember that one against, I think, Arizona years and years ago. He can make plays like that. Not many guys can do that. It can be frustrating as a coach watching that happen because sometimes he takes a pretty big sack. Other times, he's making plays that you never seen before. That's the positives. Other positives, like I said, doesn't turn the football over very much, can work in a lot of different systems. He doesn't have to be a player who utilizes his feet. He can work as a player who can just sit back in the pocket and throw the football. He can run, but he prefers to throw. Negatives. Small sample size. He didn't play, sophomore, freshman season, junior season. Oklahoma State was struggling really badly, 2 wins at the midway point of the season. They said, you know what, we'll throw Ramsey in. Quarterback's not playing well. And he went on a run. He went on a real run right there, and you see what he did last season. 2,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 4 picks, 4 rushing touchdowns, 600 rushing yards. He just carried that team all the way to a bowl game, and, there's a lot of excitement around Oklahoma State of what this guy was going to be able to do with a full season and going into his senior year as a guy who just didn't get a lot of opportunities. He played 8 games before this season. I put about 20-ish starts because barring injuries, of course, and everything. He's going to play minimum 12 games, and then a potential conference championship, bowl game, playoffs. I mean, they're in playoff contention. So I'd say minimum he'll get 20 starts, maximum he'll get 24. But not a lot of sample size to go off of, especially in that 8 games. He's coming out, that backup quarterback thing where you don't expect him. He plays well. Now the tape's out there. Even with the tape out there, though, he's playing really, really well. As we talk about his legs, though, see 600 rushing yards this season. He's going to end with a lot of rushing yards this season, but a lot of those are by design. He doesn't like to run. He rarely ever scrambles, and the coaches gotta kind of force him to use his legs, and they design a lot of runs, and when he runs, he runs it well, but he just doesn't. He will opt to throw the ball away or duck out of bounds for a couple yards or whatever. He does not like to run the ball. I think he needs to be more willing to scramble because he can do it and he can do it well. It's a running quarterback who just doesn't like to run. It's really interesting. And he's got some consistency issues, I think. Minor little knock on him. I think he just needs to get a little better with the accuracy, get a little better in these key situations, but it's due to a lack of experience, and I think that'll just kind of come with playing time, so I think he'll be fine in that regard as long as he just gets on the field and plays. But really fun and exciting prospect is Ramsey White, I think whatever team gets him is really getting a franchise quarterback for themselves. And if they can put together a defense even resembling the Legion of Boom, I think you could be winning yourself a Super Bowl. Now, hard to do, but we'll see. That was the college football update, and the win against the Chargers was not without its casualties, as we have lost Michael Mayer for the next couple of games, and he won't be back till very, very late in the season or a potential playoff run. So no Michael Mayer. Jonnu Smith's going to have to step up, and as we move ahead to our next game, we are taking on Tua and the Patriots. Tua jumps ships from the Dolphins to the Patriots. It's going to be really interesting to see what Tua in New England's going to look like, and we will have that game for you in the next episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.